What's up guys, welcome back for another Yugioh Pro Duel video. A new Utopia monster was revealed earlier today. It's a new rank 4 exceed and it's quite easy, or at least you can very well, it's not that hard to get it on the field. It just needs any 2 level 4 monsters. So again, a rank 4 exceed play. It's kinda indirect support for the Utopic ZEXAL lockdown-ish variants of decks. This deck, or at least this video today, contains 2 kinda different lists, but both of them are focused on the quote-unquote OTK featuring this new Utopia Double, right? Featuring double or nothing, you know the spell card. This new exceed does summon, at least does search it upon link summon. Well, it doesn't really matter, you can just detach a card. It's a quick effect during your opponent's turn as well. Your Utopia double can detach a card to search a double or nothing, and after that you can overlay exceed any other Utopia exceed from your extra deck. So that's kinda good, you can run the higher number exceeds from Utopia here in your extra deck. But yeah, again, using 2 different builds. The first build is far more casual. I personally prefer this particular build, kinda using the Dark Warrior strategy of Neo Space Connector, Dolphin of course, Summon Among the Butterfly, the Small Armageddonite and Malicious Chunk Forward, etc, etc. So again, just basically falling back on the Dark Warrior engine since the first deck list. Very similar to, well, the good old Utopia decks featuring, what's it called, Star Drawing? You know, those cards like Tin Goldfish, like Utopia decks from years ago. Is the biggest downside of that particular deck is the, well, of course, Master Wolfo and getting out a Link monster. Getting out that Link 2, and I think one of the better Link 2s, for example, here is Alistair, of course, but mainly Isolde. Isolde is one of those cards that makes, you know, your 2 card investments pay off, especially thanks to the search, especially for this particular list, since this list doesn't really, isn't really running too many 1-card link summons, right? And that is where the second list comes into play with something like Malicious, Armageddonite, New Space Connector, etc, etc, right? But yeah, anyway, so the biggest disadvantage, I guess, from this first particular version is, well, getting out those link monsters, and it's just too resource, at least the investment is quite resource heavy, so that's why I kinda prefer the second possibility of, you know, just focusing on like Dark Warrior, the Dark Warrior strategy. This new link monster was also revealed, I believe, last week. It's a very, it's a weaker version to summon sorcerers. It's not special summoning something from the deck, but it does special summon something from the hand, so kinda extending your plays, but it does have the big disadvantage that that particular monster, that new Link 2, cannot be used for a Link summon, and yeah, so you can't use it for something like Boral Sword, Boreload, or Upgrade itself, right? So that's something I kinda dislike about the card. The attack power is also quite low, so I don't really recommend running that particular card. Then again, and that's why, you know, you should probably be focusing more on getting out Isolde as fast as possible by opening up those 2 extra monster zones and by putting Utopic ZEXAL in those extra, in those, you know, new opened main monster zones for those extra deck monsters. Since, I mean, if you only have a rank 4 exceed play ready, which was kinda common with the first build, you're going to use your extra monster zone for Utopic ZEXAL, and that's not really that great, right? It kinda blocks your extra deck special summons for your upcoming turns. So again, just go for Isolde, play like Warrior Turbo, the Dark Warrior focused decks by turboing out Isolde. I should probably main deck 2 copies of Isolde in the extra deck. Very instantly, well, just instantly opening up 2 extra monster zones, and then you get this, right? You can pump out those ZEXALs with ease and other Utopia monsters as well. The fact is that, well, you can definitely play Rongo Bongo Turbo. I mean, it's still, if you go to a YCS and you have to play like a 12 to 13 round tournament or even more, you just picking the more consistent deck, and as you saw in the list here, running those extra equips to make Isolde's special summoning effect live to target something like Armageddon Knights or maybe a level 3 warrior from the deck. The equips, adding the rank up spells to the main deck, you're running a couple of break cards, so something like Summon Monk is definitely welcome. Currently 2 copies in the main deck, so you might want to add in a third one as well. And again, Summon Monk is a card that's like high risk, high reward. Impermanence, Effect Failure, Ash Blossom, all pretty much stop your Summon Monk from going off, and then, you know, you made like a heavy investment to pretty much lose the game already if your opponent does have the well-timed Ash Blossom or Impermanence. But then again, you're playing a lot of quote-unquote dead cards. Well, yeah, some equips you can definitely use of extending your plays, like Autonomous Action Unit, for example, or DDR, getting back a banished warrior, for example, a banished Armageddon Knight, extending your plays, so I kinda like that. Borodot is in the extra deck just because of this, having that extra boss monster, right, solid against something like Thunder Dragons or basically any deck. Going first this time, and this is where, you know, again, that first build comes into play. The build also evolved throughout testing, but not really having options of going for Isolde first. And of course, as you saw in the build, I wasn't running any equips to make use of Isolde's special summoning effect, so investing the Link Summon, well, the Link 2 summon was just too hard for this deck, and putting ZEXAL here in your extra monster zone, it's not really that great. But yeah, then again, you can definitely like combine both builds, using the first build and make some adjustments, make some, you know, changes. It's a 50 card deck, by the way, so adding in Neo Space Connector, maybe drop some Dododo, Gagaga monsters, since those were here in the main deck, right? Anyway, go for, do you know Utopia, and you know this OTK, not really sure if I already showcased it, I think so, right? Just, as you know, this spell card, what is it called, Double or Nothing? Is that the card, the spell card? It's kinda late, apologies, you know which card I mean. Just search it out with your new Utopia Double, and then just overlay again for a regular Utopia. The attack needs to be negated, and that's something you can only do with a regular Utopia, and from that on, you can use your spell card and then double the attack of your regular Utopia to 10k. So you could OTK your opponent from any basic rank 4 exceed play, but that's, again, if your opponent has any interruption like a hand trap or impermanence or whatever, or even only high attack monsters, then your OTK is not that easy. So in most situations, the OTK just falls short, and again, that's why I prefer going for the second build, a Dark Warrior-like build. Having more options, making Isolde, making sure you have a follow-up play for next turn. Again, one of those powerhouses for the deck, boss monster number 1 being ZEXAL, forcing or blocking every deck from your opponent. It's either Rongo, Bongo Turbo, or ZEXAL Turbo, right? So ZEXAL, just ZEXAL your opponent, not let your opponent play Yugioh, and then during your own next turn, during your second turn, right, just follow it up with those extra exceed plays, so yeah, some extra shenanigans, those extra draws, thanks to the Exceed Utopia continuous spell, right? Yeah, Lightning as well, reveal the monster reborn, and he enters the scoop phase. Last example again, quite easy to get 2 warriors on my side of the field. Yep, this is again the first build. Yeah, just mixing it up, I guess. Eventually going for the Utopic ZEXAL again. My follow-up plays for next turn are quite decent. Well, not really. Again, having that, I believe, are those Dododos? I think so, but one of them being level 6, I think. It's like a Cyber Dragon, right? But turns itself into a level 4 as soon as it's special summoned like a Cyber Dragon. Call by the Grave was needed to negate the Ash Blossom, triple instant staple, Call by the Grave. And here is where the OTK comes into play. It doesn't really force you, at least it doesn't prevent other monsters from attacking as well. So again, Utopia attacking, negating its own effect, and then use the spell card, doubling the attack during the damage type, I believe. And now I can eventually attack for a game. So again, 2 different builds. The first build is a little bit more casual oriented, very similar to like previous build from years ago, like Star Drawing, maybe the Gigabyte, for example. You know, those good old school rank 4 exceed play decks, but I don't really like it that much. I prefer this particular build, the Neo Space Connector, the Dark Warrior oriented deck. Maybe you could add like PK, it's up to you, maybe I mean, it's Dark Warrior, guys, like Clever, Danger as well if you want, but yeah, it's again, it's up to you. The extra deck is super tight, so that's something that you have to keep in mind of, you know, main decking those multiple Utopias. So, but again, yeah, that's up to you. So guys, like always, feel free to leave your suggestions. Okay, thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a card or like if you enjoyed the video. YgoPro signing out. Peace.